Hey, in this video we will be talking about function data types and delegates in C#. So I'm in Visual Studio with a C# project started up, and in the last video we had talked about how function data types look in C++, where you would use either a function pointer or the standard function data type. In C# there are a few more options, but they pretty much follow the same pattern. The first one is that it is common in C# code to find the idea of delegates. Delegates are a lot like a function pointer. They're just referring to another function that's going to be called to delegate some work to it. So if I have if I want to declare a delegate, I make it just like a function. Let's see, a thing printer, and I give it a type, a return type, just like a function. I give it an argument list, so let's put a number in there, and that's it. This declaration of delegate is something very similar to what we would do in the C language, where we recognize that function pointers have a really disgusting looking syntax. So instead we give each type of function pointer a different name. So this name here for this delegate is thing printer, and it defines a new type. So if I wanted to make a function that is similar, let's say I have a function printed. Alright, so this matches the signature of that delegate. Then I can create a delegate, so make a thing printer delegate. I'll just call it my function, so I don't like that whole naming convention. And then I can assign into it one of these functions. So just like a function pointer. This does need an object reference. So let me see. So if I don't have an object that I'm working with, in this case the program class is never going to be instantiated by me. I can make this a static function, and then I don't need an object. Otherwise I could make let me see, other class. Let me put some function in there, and this can be an instance function. Okay, so essentially the same. The only difference is that static keyword here, where I'm not using an object reference at all. I'm just referring to a static function that has no object that it's working on, no this object, and then another one where I can use an other class. So let me make an other class object. My object print it. Okay. So two delegates, these thing printers, and I can call them just like a normal function. Alright, cool. So the difference between these and how it works in the C language is that this supports classes. My other function isn't just bound to this printIt function, it is bound to this my object as well. There's an implicit this object that it's working on when I call that function. And this can be used in the same way as in C++, where we had callback functions. You can use delegates to act as callbacks. So another data type you can use, there's kind of two of them here. One of them is func, and the other one is action. Func is for functions that return a value. So that's kind of what you would normally expect, but it does not support functions that don't return a value. And I don't really care for the syntax all that much, but it does its job. And then actions are for functions that return void, so no value. And so the naming here, an action kind of implies that something is being done, something is happening, and the return value is not important. So that's discarded. So I'll define a func, and the syntax here, like I said, I don't like it. It is the parameter list first. For this one, it's just using one parameter. I'll accept an integer, and then the return type second, and that's kind of the reverse order of what I expect. So I'll call this my func 1. That seems fine. And then for actions assume that you're going to be returning void, so that doesn't even need to be part of this this type list. And so we're just taking an integer for this one, my action 1. Right? Looks fine. Now let's actually create these functions. So let's make a public static. Let's see, we were returning a Boolean and taking in an integer. So okay. Let's do something somewhat arbitrary here just to demonstrate it. Okay, and let's make something more like an action. Let's see, print it. Oh no, I used that name. Print func. All right, let's make something to fit into that action now. Void print action, and this one also is taking a number. I'll just copy the same thing. Need return statements. There. Okay, so I should be able to assign these. Print func, print action. All right, and they're used very similarly, just like any other one of these types of function representation. So we need an integer. 17, and we'll do my action 1, 3. Okay, let's test that out. Looks pretty good. So we got, we're printing out 3 here, we're printing out 7 there, we've got a big number and we've got a small number. Cool. And so this will return true or false, and this will not return any value. And that's what delegates and the func and the action data types look like in C#. And they're used just like the ones in C++. You can use them to represent callbacks as well as these any function manipulations. And you can use data types like this to to pass in functions as parameters to another function, which is what we'll talk about in the next video. See ya.